Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining in. If you're new to the channel, thanks for checking it out. And if you enjoy this content, please feel free to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. Also want to say I'm sorry it's been so long since I posted. I do want to try and start making regular content for you guys. I was out of town for a few weeks, and since I've been back, I've been really slammed at work. But I do have some time today to do some filming. And my goal is to try and get an engine in this Integra here. So in this video, I'm gonna get an engine in this Integra, hopefully, and try and fire it up. And maybe if I have some time, I wanna go ahead and see if I can get some brakes going. So enjoy, and thanks for joining in. So this is the engine and transmission that I plan on using. This is the engine and trans that I actually pulled out of the Integra when I purchased it. This is a K24A from the Accord Type R, and that is, I believe, an 8th gen Civic SI trans. I know it's a 6-speed manual trans, but I can look at the code on it later, try and figure it out a little more. But first things first is I want to get this thing cleaned off. I want to get, there's bolts on it, the fuel rail. I don't know what's going on with this thing. So, and I have a different harness for it. So I'm going to get everything taken off this thing, kind of clean it off a little, and figure out exactly what I need to get this thing running. So I'm going to go ahead and get it on my hydraulic table over there and start taking some stuff off of it. Alright, so got the engine on the table. One thing I do not have is an exhaust manifold or anything, because even on eBay, the K-Series exhaust manifolds for K-swapped Integras and Civics, they're pretty pricey. So I'm been just trying to find like a stock manifold just to throw on it to at least get it to run dry. But I do need to try and get this half shaft out, because this half shaft is like jammed in there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and get the chain taken off, get the harness taken off, take off the intake manifold, and then try and figure out something with the power steering. And then a couple other things I have here is I have this harness to throw on, and then here's a radiator that I ordered, just a generic half-size radiator for like a Civic. And then supposedly these are K-swap coolant hoses, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to make them work. So if not, I'll figure out something else. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and start prepping this engine to go ahead and at least just get it dropped in. All right, so pretty much ready to go ahead and drop it in the car. As you can see, I have the intake manifold off and I have the engine harness off. And I went ahead and sprayed this thing down with a bunch of brake cleaner and then blew it off. This thing looks so much better. It looked abandoned before, now it just looks a little dirty, but like a normal used engine. And then for this half shaft here, I'm not 100% sure how they managed to pin this thing in the way they did, but I ended up having to just split the transmission and the engine apart, and I didn't even have to like fully take it off. I just took out the bell housing bolts and split it apart a little, and then all the tension came off this and it came right out, and it seemed fine. I won't know 100% for sure if this bearing is bad until I start using it, but for now I think it'll work. It seemed fine to me. I went ahead and just put it back in. It went in somewhat smoothly, and then I went ahead and put some bolts in it. You're supposed to have 2 of these are shouldered bolts. I only had 1 of the shouldered bolts, so the other 2 I just found some old bolts laying around. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing dropped in now and start putting everything on it to try and get it to fire up. All right, well, I got the car pushed in. As you saw, I took the headlamps and bumper off just because I want those to be out of the way and I don't want to accidentally bang into those or something. And I'm going to go ahead and go up with the car, roll this underneath, and it should just bolt right in. And then I can go ahead and start getting everything put where it needs to be to go ahead and get this thing to fire up. So that's the next step, is just get this thing bolted in. All right, so I've been working on this thing for probably about 5.5 hours now, and I've made a lot of progress. So we're gonna hose clamp. So basically, this is everything I've got done. I got the engine harness on, right, and this is like an OEM charge harness. It comes with a bunch of extra connectors. So I just left those unplugged and used the battery terminal and the fuse box terminals, as well as the starter and alternator terminals. So that was just easier. I got the fuel lines all done, which they were pretty much all set up. They just need to be hooked back up. But here's the return line, regulators bolted in, and the feed line is all hooked up and everything. Intake manifold's back on, and I do have a radiator just put in here, at least so I can run it. I have just some makeshift coolant hoses. They were off of, I don't know, something. I had them just laying around, and I just cut them so that they kind of fit in there. I do have the shift cables in, so they're clipped in here. I found some OEM clips. They work and everything. They run under the sway bar. I had to drill out the hole under the chassis a little bigger, and I got the shift box in there and everything set up, and I'll show you guys that in a second. I have some LS webs. These LS webs actually came with the car. I just had Steelies on it because the Steelies also came with the car. So I put these LS webs on there because I kind of like them. I got the clutch cable hooked up. It's not bled or anything, but I do have it hooked up. I have a couple grounds, just some makeshift grounds, just to get the car to run. One here and one over there. Let's see, what else have I done? I think that's pretty much everything I've done. Oh, the axles are in, and I went through all of the suspension because there was a bunch of loose suspension components and everything. So
The axles are in. It's the K-swapped axles that came with the car. They were like in the box unopened. So that's all taken care of. I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do with the power steering system. I'll probably just order one of those power steering K-swap delete kits. It's basically just the bracket, the pulley, and it comes with a belt. That'll be easier for me. It's just easier and simple, and these cars are so light they really don't need power steering. I do have to figure out a way to block off the fittings for the original, you know, the power steering rack, because they're just open right now. And then you can see down here, it doesn't look very pretty. I know it's just temporary, but these are the original inlet and outlet for the heater box, but all of that is removed. So if I were to run coolant into the firewall here, it would just spill onto the floor. So I just looped it for now, so I can at least not leak coolant, just to get it running. And then I'm currently trying to get another throttle body. There's a core over at Honda, it's actually a K24 core, and it has the throttle body where the bracket for the cable is over here, and I think it looks a little better. So I'm trying to see if I can get that one, but for now this is going to work, I think. So and then obviously it's going to go under this brake line. I'm going to be taking that brake line out and redoing them. These are the ones that came in the car, and you can see they're just not right. They're super kink. So I'm going to be taking those out. I'm not doing it tonight because it's getting late and I want to go home. So there's still no brakes on the car, but yeah, I'll do that another night. My goal is just try and get it fired up, which I don't think I'm going to get done tonight, but it is really close to being able to be fired up. The only thing I haven't done is messed around with the conversion harness. There is a conversion harness in the car here. That's why I didn't order one. I'm hoping to try and make this one work here. It's kind of dark. Let me see if I can turn the flash on. Alright, so you can kind of see here, this is the engine harness I ran through the firewall. This is the one I just put on. This is the conversion harness that was in the car when I purchased it, and you can see that it's kind of been messed with a little bit. So there's this wire here that's being grounded to the firewall, or the chassis there, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and probably just take this out and see if I can just return it to its original form, its original wiring, specifications, and then make that work. But I'm not doing that today because it's just getting too late and I want to go home. So I'm going to save that for another day. But here is the shifter, and you can see it goes in all the gears. There's 5th, 6th. Reverse has been a little weird here. Let me see if I can get it to go in. There you go. So there's reverse. So goes in all the gears. I did put fluid in the trans, and I changed the oil in the filter, so that was another thing that I did. But yeah, pretty much the only thing I need to do is figure out this conversion harness here, and then I should be able to just go ahead and fire it up. If I had the key in here, I'd show you that it doesn't fire up. So I don't know if the starter signal is supposed to come from the wiring, or I don't know if the alarm that's going off is affecting it, but I do know that the starter could just be bad. So I'm gonna have to figure all that out later, but I'm really happy with the progress that I made today, because pretty much just need to get this thing to turn over, get some fuel to it, and it should fire up.
Alright, that's the end of this video. Thank you everyone who watched, and go ahead and hit that like button and leave a comment. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. In the next video, I'm gonna get this thing running, and we're gonna go out and bang some gears, so stay tuned for that. You guys have a good night, and I will see you guys next time.